Welcome, everyone, to a very special edition of the Harsh Review Podcast. What's that I hear? This would be a Halloween edition. It's actually October 30th, so we're getting to you a day before. But Sean and I, hello, Sean.
Hey, Ryan.
So we're going to talk about some films that have come out through the years that have been, not necessarily scary horror slasher films, but more like suspenseful films that make us think of something we'd sit around and watch on a scary Halloween night. What do you think about that, Sean?
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. So, I wanted to get right into it. Maybe just talk for a minute about what your conception of a horror movie, what does that mean to you if I said that?
Sure. So there's a few different types of horror movies, and I'm just going to go on the record saying that this is probably my least favorite genre of movies in general, but the quality of movies that have been coming out have gotten better. So I think you might notice a trend with some of the ones I'm going to talk about. But for me, you've got like your slasher type of movies, which lean a lot on the gore and like maybe like a main villain or something along those lines. You've got your paranormal ghost type movies, and then you've got like your dark occult type theme stuff. You've got things that deal with like angels and demons and, zombies and Dracula and all those kinds of. So, for me, like the ones that I'm typically are always drawn to are either more suspense, occult, darker themes. I'm not really into like the slasher, gore type movies. They're just not really entertaining to me.
Yeah, I feel the same.
But there's some good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of that stuff, it's kind of a certain niche audience. I mean, I know people that are really into the slasher, like the more gore and violence, the better. It really doesn't do anything for me. It's not that I find it disgusting or anything. It's just there's a certain point where I'm like, all right, this is getting a little bit too much. But I'm glad we have the same sensibility when it comes to that, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we could start by talking about what our favorite, I'd say, horror movie would be of all time. And then we can just kind of work back through our childhood and look at some movies that might have scared us as children. Fast forwarding into the present, what stands up is maybe some modern day horror suspense films that have stood the test of time and will stand the test of time. How do you think that should go, Sean? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Do you want to start with my favorite?
Yes, you go first.
Well, my favorite of all time. First, I want to take you through a quick little journey into my childhood. I was, as you know, an avid reader as a kid. And one of the writers I really gravitated towards and still do was Stephen King. And so, I haven't read all of his books, but the ones I have, for the most part, I've loved them. I find him to be a really kind of overlooked writer in terms of his talent, his craft for developing these original stories, not only in the horror suspense genre, but also in dramatic as well. So I was, really just devoured a lot of his books as a kid. Surprisingly, like I guess our mother didn't really care that I was reading these books because there's a lot of, we used to call them adult themes in them. But then you get into his film adaptations, and not all of them are so great. Some of them are horrible. Some of them are really hard to watch. I feel that the best adaptations of his work have been things like Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Stand By Me, which are, not having anything really to do with horror, but more just what his dramatic work is.
Yeah, good stories.
Yeah. But I would say my favorite movie, and I've been watching it as a tradition for the last couple of years around Halloween time, but my favorite horror suspense film would have to be The Shining.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is about this movie. I love Jack Nicholson in that time period. Another one of my favorite movies, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he's in that too. His movies is so creepy. And still to this day, you can watch it and notice little things about it. It really kind of resonates with you if you see it at an early age. And then still to this day, I think it's a wonderful, not only like a piece of film, but also really just Kubrick was going for like, trying to master every genre that he touched, and I think he did a great job with this one. So I would have to say The Shining is my favorite. The performances alone are good. It's an adaptation that Stephen King hated, didn't like the way it was adapted to the screen, but that's his opinion. I still think it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of cinematic horror film.
Yeah, that movie's great. It's one that I appreciated the more the older I get, the more I can appreciate it. I know we talked about it many moons ago on here, but it's a good pick. I think it's a good all around. That's the type of horror movie I can get behind. Because the gore or violence is there to tell a story, not just for the sake of being gory or violent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some really creepy stuff in there. It's just over repeated viewings. You're like, what's really going on here?
True, that's true.
But yeah, what about you?
Whew. So for me, it's the type of ones that one of the first movies I think that kind of came along that kind of changed my perception of what a good, stereotypical scary movie or horror, movie would be. And that's like, you got like Dracula's and Frankenstein's and zombies and, werewolves and all that kind of stuff. But for me, the one that, I liked the most would be 28 Days Later.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that's a Danny Boyle movie. It's definitely got a unique take on it from somebody that doesn't have the reputation for making these types of movies heading into it. But it just felt the most authentic as far as if this really happened in a modern day, this is probably what it would be like. And if zombies really were a thing and London was impacted, this is probably what it would look like. And they were much more faster, agile. Wasn't like the slow, eat your brains type of stereotype. So when I kind of saw that, I went like, okay, you can, at least as far as my preference or standards, you can make a scary thriller type of movie in this genre and have it be done very well with a unique point of view.
And have it be totally plausible as well.
Yeah, at least, yeah. Exactly. So that's the one that for me, I think I enjoyed the most.
That's a good pick.
Thanks.
I think that wraps it up for the harsh review.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, No, but I think it's good to look at older, movies. One of the first movies that really scared the shit out of me was Poltergeist 2.
Oh, okay. I wrote down the first one. Maybe I don't remember the differences between the first and the second.
Poltergeist 2 had this
first
really
one had me.
Creepy old guy in it. That was like basically a ghost, and he'd go around the neighborhood like knocking on the door and singing some creepy song, and really like kind of freaked me out at an early age. But both of them are good. I think the first one's great too. I think Stephen King had a hand in producing the first one. Maybe I think writing it. I mean, it has a lot of his hallmark in it. I mean, it's taking place in a suburban area. Has the old, hey, we built this on an Indian burial ground, so look what happens.
Yeah, right.
How many movies are like, take place around an Indian burial ground? But I really liked Poltergeist. Haven't seen either one in a while. I know there's like a third one. There was a remake, but for my money, it's like the first two are pretty good, stand-up ones.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones for me as a kid, seeing that going like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. I didn't prepared for this. A lot of movies didn't really scare me or freak me out as a kid, but that I would have to say that was the one that had me a little bit more concerned. So yeah, good pick.
Yeah,
but you're talking, Carolyn Danvers.
This house is clear.
Yeah, I know. So speaking of Indian burial grounds, I'd say the one movie that probably had the biggest creep factor to me as a kid would be the Pet Sematary one.
Yeah,
and
on my list.
I mean, I don't know necessarily what it was, but I think that was it was in '89, so I was maybe 10 years old, 9 or 10. And there's, that one Zelda lady, the old woman that's all like, that lady that was pretty much it. I was like, that was creepy.
That was weird.
Yeah, I know, but that movie was pretty good, and it had a lot of weird elements to it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I know Stephen King did the screenplay for that one, and I know they're remaking it as well. They have a new version coming out that looks a little bit more true to the source material. That'll be out next year.
Looks good.
Yeah, a lot of potential there. But Pet Sematary, that was definitely one that I was like, okay, I'm good. This is I need to avoid this.
Herman Munster, like,
right?
Hey, you don't go out in those woods and bury a cat. It's gonna come back.
Yeah. You go back.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. And then good pick. I like that one. Another one, and that's another Stephen King.
That's true.
Another one for me. It's kind of straddles the line between comedy, horror, and vampires. The Lost Boys.
Oh, I didn't have that on here.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not fall.
We had the Coreys. We had the Coreys. We had Kiefer Sutherland. We had a guy with no shirt playing a saxophone, all greased up.
What's your name? Star.
We have eating the bowl of rice, and it like turns into a bunch of maggots.
Yeah, was that Golden Child? Come on.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that was it's good. I mean, it's Joel Schumacher, so he's always in a lot of his movies, especially the Batmans. He's going for extreme campiness. But there were some funny moments in it, especially when he meets the Frog Brothers, and they're like the reigning local authorities and how to get rid of vampires.
As a kid, I wish I was one of the Frog Brothers. They were cool when you were a kid.
They were cool. But I think now watching it again, I don't think I'd like it that much.
No, it's cheesy as hell.
Yeah. And it was like obviously in Santa Cruz, but it was like Santa Clara or something.
Yeah,
they called it something else.
Santa Cruz, and they're like on the bridge scene where they're like hanging on the bridge, and then they fall into the oblivion, and then they're doing their whole thing because he had some blood. That actual bridge is like 15 feet off the ground. So I was a little disappointed when I saw it. I was like, "That's the bridge from Lost Boys."
Yeah,
it's like
you're not even gonna stub a toe falling up that
damn
thing.
you, movie magic. So. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. That's right near like the boardwalk and all that kind of stuff. But it's look at you.
Yeah, it's referenced a lot. It's still kind of a nostalgic thing, I guess. But it's just one of those things. Like a lot of movies in the '80s, they don't really hold up at all. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you.
One that I enjoyed quite a bit, all for the wrong reasons, is more of a comedy to me, and it was one of the first DVDs I ever bought. And I watched this thing. I mean, at parties all the time. I'd throw it on. You'd watch it to just laugh and have it was really, really funny. It involved a Sumatran rat monkey. And this would be Dead Alive.
Oh,
remember this one?
Peter Jackson's first.
Yes, it is Dead Alive by good old.
I vaguely remember this one.
Yeah. So for those who don't remember, Dead Alive, Pete Jackson was making his scary movie kind of stuff, and this one came out. He was a young man's mother bitten by a Sumatran rat monkey, which was a weird looking puppet thing. It was made in '92, and so the girl gets sick and dies, comes back to life, and she's killing and eating dogs, nurses, friends, and neighbors, and this whole mess ensues with all these like zombies and all. It was just really cheesy, campy, and funny, but super bloody. The best scene is when the guy straps the lawnmower to his chest.
Yeah,
and it just walks through like a mob of zombies and just shooting blood everywhere. It's hilarious, and it takes like blood and gore to like a whole nother level. But it's just
that's why it's funny, because a lot of that's just so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's great. But it was just, when I watched it, I couldn't believe somebody like went and made all that, and even at the time, I didn't even put two and two together. That was Peter Jackson, who 6-7 years later would start doing Lord of the Rings. So who knew? He kind of started off their way, though. That's where his passion kind of was at. And he's somebody who's got 21 credits for directing things. It was like his fourth feature. He did, Bad Taste in 87, Meet the Feebles in 89. Then he went to do Dead Alive, followed by like Heavenly Creatures and then The Frighteners. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
96 with Michael J. Fox.
Heavenly Creatures was good too.
Yeah, that was his kind of style of movie. And so anyway, then he went on to do Lord of the Rings. So when you see a lot of the action in Lord of the Rings and the way that he filmed that and the way he used real props and all that kind of stuff, I mean, he cut his teeth on the horror genre to kind of actually make Lord of the Rings great. So it's an interesting, path for a director to take.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I really like that one.
Nice. All right, so my next pick, I'm going to kind of give you the synopsis of it, and you have to guess the name of the film.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
All right, yeah. So it's this guy who's basically he's a quadriplegic, and a friend of his thinks that it would be a great idea if he had a rhesus monkey do a lot of the work around the house for him and like take care of stuff. But so it works out good for a minute, and then the rhesus monkey starts getting jealous and killing off people that are getting close to this guy and keeping him away from his owner.
The rhesus monkey? What the hell is that?
A rhesus monkey is like a little tiny monkey with like a little baby head. It's
like the Indiana Jones monkey? Like the bad
kind
dates?
of. It's called a rhesus monkey. That's what it's called.
Dude, I don't know what this is.
Monkey Shines.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Is that the one with the cover with the monkey and the symbols?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's kind of funny like now to watch
Plot
it.
Sounds terrible.
No, it's great, man.
Monkey Shines.
Like this monkey, and then the monkey is up to no good the whole time. It's like he's like
shit.
He's a little shit. Like he's worse than Kevin McAllister, running around creating like problems and setting up like accident pratfalls, and then the only difference is the person dies. So yeah,
and that's the whole plot of the movie.
Pretty much. And then the end, and then as the movie goes on, the guy's like, wait a minute, like this person died and the monkey wasn't here when the person died. And,
oh my goodness.
The monkey's name is Ella, and Ella is up to no good the whole movie. So,
wow.
Monkey Shines.
Monkey Shines. Okay.
Check it out. It's late 80s movie.
All right.
I haven't gotten out of the 80s yet. So,
I've heard of it. I just haven't seen it.
Well, you're going to see it by next week, and we're going to have a whole episode.
No, I will not.
Okay. All right. Next.
I don't know if I can follow that.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it up.
I would probably say In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, man.
Is that on your list?
No, I totally forgot about that one, but that is a good movie.
Yeah, this is another one that somebody was like, dude, you got to see it. And I was probably like teenage years, and I was like, this movie's twisted. It's great. Sam Neill's in it, right around the Jurassic Park time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an insurance investigator begins discovering that the impact of a horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational. It's been a long time since I've seen this, but this one was pretty rad at the time.
Yeah, it's based on loosely based, but it's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, who was another writer from back in the day, like a horror writer, but he wrote about some really twisted stuff. So this movie borrows a lot from that sensibility.
Yeah, John Carpenter directed it.
Oh, okay. He's great.
Yeah, so it was another one of those twisted ones. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's nothing I'm going to continue watching. It's not like it's on rotation, and it probably doesn't hold up, but at the time, I thought it was pretty rad.
Nice. Well, since we're talking about John Carpenter, I mean, we can obviously go with the original Halloween, which I'm sure people are going to hate me for saying this, but I haven't seen it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I might get in trouble for saying that. But
what the hell are you talking about it for?
No, I'm going to name another movie, sir. Hold on.
I thought that was your poll.
No, so I could say, that, but instead I'm going to say The Thing.
Yeah, I got The Thing.
Yeah. which is a great movie.
Sir.
Like, yeah, sir. It's a good like
rad.
it's classic. Just like all the guys kind of get picked off one by one. You're left with Kurt Russell and that other guy. In the end of the movie, it's kind of ambiguous, like who is infected. But it's a cool movie, like with just some of the effects when like the guy's head turns into that like spider thing. The effects are really like kind of do it your own. Just not really. This is a little bit before CGI started taking over, so a lot of it was do it yourself type stuff. But I think it's great. I own it. I'll put it on every now and then. It's a good film.
Yeah, it's great.
Kurt Russell.
82.
That was like, yeah. I went on to do some other stuff with John Carpenter, but that's definitely a classic.
Yeah, this can't complain about The Thing.
Yep.
So this movie got me literally sick to my stomach.
Uh-oh.
Which doesn't happen often, and it's called The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, it's on my list.
And that's from motion sickness of the damn handheld camera that my eyes were not trained to enjoy when this one came out.
Do you remember when we went to see this movie?
Yeah, I probably.
We went to see it. Our uncle took us to see it. It was a theater in Santa Monica called the New Art. It's like a small independent movie. And on the wall next to where we were sitting, there was vomit all over the wall. I guess
I don't remember any of this.
I remember it.
I was there?
You were there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Like I know I went and he took us. He took a couple of us to see it. Yeah, and I guess that was the story back then. People were like throwing up in the theater because of the vomiting and just the motion sickness. And then this movie kind of spawned a whole genre, like subgenre of terrible movies where it's just a handheld camera and you're there and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty groundbreaking as far as, you can have a good premise and you can show somebody nothing and, it can have a huge kind of impact. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's the profitability of this movie is crazy. So imagine spending $60,000 making the Blair Witch Project, and then its box office run in '99, it did $248 million.
So crazy.
So that's one hell of a profit.
It did a lot for independent films. I'll definitely give it that. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't really seen those people again that did the movie, but
they cashed in and moved on, right?
Do you think so? Yeah, I mean, they had to have. I mean, it was a really good concept, and it's one of those concepts where I'm sure everyone else is like, well, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, it's kind of like a lightning in a bottle thing. It's like you can make a movie for super cheap. You don't know if it's going to hit it like this one did.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, the folks who created this, they dabbled on some things. One of them has continued to work a lot more. The other one, not so much. Mm-hmm. He's the Eduardo Sanchez continues to put out stuff like he did a couple Blair Witch type things. Altered, Seventh Moon, Exists, Intruders, From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, which only lasted 4 episodes. It's just a bunch of crap I never really even heard of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely was lightning in the bottle.
Yeah. Hey, good pick.
Yeah.
Definitely up there in the most like nauseous film category.
Yeah, absolutely.
This movie I'm about to say, I think it's a really good like modern scary movie. I thought it was really cool when it came out. It's not one of those movies you're going to watch over and over again, but I thought it was a cool concept. The Others.
Yes, with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think the whole concept was great. Like I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but one of the things that kind of freaked me out was back in the day, they used to take like pictures of dead people, and they kind of like dress them up and they take pictures and then collect that stuff in like photo books. So that's kind of like, the movies, that's one of the plot points of this film, but I thought it was really cool just how it was done. It's got its own kind of like slow pace, but the payoff is definitely worth it if you haven't seen it before.
Now, remind me what the big hook was. They're ghosts or something like that, right?
Well, it's Nicole Kidman and her kids are in this house, and apparently the husband's gone off to war, and she keeps seeing things like around the house, and she can't really leave the house, so it creates that sense of claustrophobia. Like she can get outside of the house to a point, and then she gets in the woods and it's all kind of fogged out. So like the spoiler is like, I'll just give it away. This movie's been out for a while. The spoiler is like her and her kids are actually the ghosts, and then the people they're seeing are like the real people that like live and work in the house. The whole movie, though, you're thinking like, yeah, like
It's
they're
the other way
alive,
around, right?
Yeah, so I think it was really cool, like how it was done, because you don't know what's going on the whole time. And that's what's good
I
about
remember it was like in the shadow of Sixth Sense, in a sense, in a way,
Yeah.
if you look at it. But I do recall that now. I remember seeing that one. It came out in 2011.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it in the
Or
theater.
2001, right?
Is it 2001?
Yeah, it had to have been earlier than that. If it
Yeah, I'm
was
sorry,
Sixth Sense-
2001. My
Yeah.
bad. So it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was on my list. I think that's one of the main like modern kind of like ghost stories. Because there's been a ton of them. There's been like the paranormal activity ones, which are just kind of like stupid shock value stuff. But yeah, that's a good one.
So here's a poll that I don't know if you've seen it or not, but have you seen Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Oh, dude, that's a great one.
So this was Sam Raimi did this one. This is what he went back to after he had his Spider-Man success. Because Sam Raimi, obviously, if you guys know him, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Darkman, and then he went on and did Spider-Man. So he went back to his roots and did Drag Me to Hell. Allison Lohman and Justin Long are in this one, but it's classic Sam Raimi type of horror, which I really love his approach to it because it's kind of funny and it doesn't take itself too serious, which I think works great for, his style. Very unique. That's what I love, like with Evil Dead, which I'm sure is on your list.
Oh, yes. All of them.
Yeah, it's that whole just theme. Like, I just love that somebody has their own voice with those types of movies. But Drag Me to Hell is one of those ones that is great. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix now. It just came out on Netflix not too long ago. Definitely worth watching if you're looking for something fun to watch for during, Halloween.
Right. Yeah. I would put up like mine, like the original Evil Dead's great. Because that one's like the more straight of the whole series, to be honest. That movie is kind of what got the Coen brothers started because they saw Evil Dead and they loved that Sam Raimi had done so much with so little. And so they actually contacted him, and Sam Raimi kind of walked him through how to do everything in a movie. And so, kind of got the Coen brothers off to a start.
That's rad.
But yeah, isn't that cool? Evil Dead 2 is like where it starts getting a little silly. Like in Evil Dead 1 is like they go to the cabin in the woods. It's Ash. Oh, what's that guy's name? Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
So like he's the main guy. There's some zombies. Like in the first one, a tree rapes somebody. All this crazy stuff happens. And then the second one, he goes back to the house, but it's like nothing happened. So it's like, it's like he goes back to the same house, and it's like he acts as if nothing happens. He takes a girl there, and then stuff starts going on. He has to end up. He gets infected. He has to cut it. He has to saw his hand off, and then he replaces it with like a chainsaw.
The boomstick.
And then the boomstick is like the S Smart rifle that he has.
S-Smart.
And it
It's
gets
just so
more
clever. I don't know
it's
what
just
it is.
Funny, like. There's a scene where like there's a stuffed deer on the wall, and it like starts talking to him, and everything is like Armory Darkness is where it gets really funny because then it's like everything's done in stop motion, so it just looks hilarious.
It's ridiculous. I know
it is, but it's good. Like it's just if you want something that's funny and not so serious, gory as well, but. I'm glad you mentioned that one because he is definitely. I'm glad when he did Drag Me to Hell because it was like okay, now he's going back to what he was doing originally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Your turn.
Yeah. Well, I kind of jumped in there with Evil Dead, but I'll throw another one out there. This is done by one of our. This guy directed one of our favorite comedies, two of our favorite comedies.
Don't tell me.
All right, go ahead.
No. Like, give me some hints here. I want to see if I can guess this. Then.
Did you guess the movie?
Yeah.
So he directed Trading Places, and he directed The Blues Brothers, which, as our listeners know, those are like two of our favorite movies. They made our top 10
Landau,
list.
right?
So John Landis.
Landis. Yes.
Yeah, and he directed this film, which is more. It's also kind of funny. It's a good tribute to like the horror genre. I think it still holds up. It's good.
Cool.
I don't know if you've seen it though.
All right, so give me a hint on the plot. As long as it doesn't involve a token monkey.
Couple guys. They rhesus monkey.
Rhesus monkey. Yeah.
Couple college kids go to London, and they're backpacking, and then they go to a pub, and the guys are like, "Stay off the moors," and so they're like, yeah, whatever. Locals are all drunk, and then what do you know? They go off the moors, and then they end up. One of them gets bit by a werewolf, and the other guy ends up getting killed by the werewolf. And you don't know what this is by now?
This is the Werewolf in London one?
American Werewolf in London.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, that's him.
God, it's been a long time since I've seen that. Didn't they remake it with Benicio?
Well, no, that was called The Werewolf, and that was
Werewolf.
Horrible.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It was so bad. They did American Werewolf in Paris, but the American Werewolf in London is the classic because and you can YouTube this. There's a scene where the main guy turns into a werewolf, and it takes like 10 minutes, dude. And it is like the most harrowing thing you've ever seen. But it's Rick Baker who did a lot of those early effects, like before CGI. Pretty much all those early horror movies, like he has his name on them, and it looks great. I mean, the movie's funny, like there's some funny stuff in there. But I like it. I think it still holds up.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Check it out, man. It's good. It's watch it for Halloween. You know.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Stay off the moors.
Stay off the moors.
Yeah. American Werewolf in London.
Is it have a comedic element to it, or is it total serious?
It does a little. It's like really, but it's really dark. I mean, there's more. It's pretty like the story's really simple, but it's like I think he was just kind of doing his tribute to like the horror movies that he grew up on as a kid, because you could see a lot of that in there. But it's just like the effects alone. The werewolf looks really cool. It's a lot of werewolf movies. Like it's kind of hit and miss. You also have Silver Bullet, which was in the
I was going to mention that Silver Bullet.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's another one.
That's a deep pull right there.
Oh yeah. Who would have thought of that one?
Gary Busey, come on.
Yeah, Corey Haim.
I know. That was a rad movie at the time. I watched it a lot as a kid, but I haven't seen that in, gosh, it's had to have been like 25 years.
Yeah, easily.
Silver
I don't even know if it still holds up.
It's like a thing, like get a silver bullet, kill the werewolf.
Yeah, that was one of those that was based on a bunch of stories he did. So there's like Silver Bullet, and there's another one called Cat's Eye.
Yeah. Cat's Eye.
Stephen Cat's Eye.
I remember that too. Is that where the little gnome comes out of the wall and is like breathing on your chest?
I think so.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like a collection of stories or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what that one is. A gnome comes out of a wall, so it's breathing on your chest.
So I think it's Cat's Eye, where I remember this correctly. I'm pretty sure it's that movie, because that's the 85 one with that little gnome that lives in the wall in Cat's Eye. Like these little creatures live in the house, and they come out of the wall. And when you're sleeping, they crawl on your chest and start like breathing in your breath to like kill you. I mean, you pulled this movie. That's what they do.
I don't remember that part.
Well, look at the cover of Cat's Eye on IMDb. You see a picture of the little gnome. Look it up.
I'm looking it up.
Follow the newest cat and creature game as played through Cat's Eye by Stephen King.
Yep.
See that little thing with the little knife there?
Yeah. Oh, he's like he's kind of lurking in the background.
Yeah, that's what it would do. Is it would steal your breath at night and like kill you. That's like, and then the cat would come up and like ruin his little like death ritual or whatever the thing was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye. Silver Bullet.
That's the dumbest ass movie.
All right.
Okay. So
Memory Lane.
You can't talk about like Halloween type movies or whatever without talking about Tim Burton. The only one that I really enjoyed the most would probably be Beetlejuice. And that's because it's Michael Keaton in it.
So good.
Yeah, and I know they've talked about doing a sequel to this one, but it's never really happened. But Michael Keaton's great in it. Alec Baldwin's pretty good. Gina Davis is in this one, but it's very creative. It's got a very funny, theme to it, and I don't know. I thought it was just great.
Yeah.
Who would have known that he would have gone on to been Batman?
Yeah, he was hilarious. Like in this movie, like he wasn't in it that much either.
No, it was like Jaws,
15 minutes or something. You
know?
He looked ridiculous. It was just like great physical comedy.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
It was pretty good.
Yeah,
so, yeah, because I mean, he had like Edward Scissorhands was another one,
right?
Which I mean, it's a little bit too much of a self-masturbation kind of movie to me, where it's like we get it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas is obviously another classic.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of has done a good job with that dark genre, but kind of keeping it light and fun for kids, perhaps. He is working on Beetlejuice 2. It's supposed to happen sometime by next year. But who knows if it's going to be called Beetlejuice 2. I don't know. We'll see.
Make my millennium.
Make my millennium. You want a sag nut? Yeah,
Right. Hey, come over here.
Hey, where? It's a little housefly. Yeah,
right.
It's a funny movie.
Yeah.
All right,
that's a good one.
Let's get a couple more in there.
All right, let's do a couple more. Here's another, like a lot of movies I'm picking are like they're more funny than anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because we don't take them serious.
This is another one you might remember from the 80s, Creep Show.
Creep Show. I remember the name. But
so it's like a couple different stories, and there's like, it's, first of all, like I watched this again not too long ago. The CGI is atrocious. Like in one
story?
Well, there's three of them. There's three or four of them, I think.
What's
one of them,
what's the good one here?
They're all bad. It's terrible.
Okay.
Like the funniest one is where Stephen King felt the need to put himself in it, and he's like this hillbilly guy, and like an asteroid lands in his backyard, and then it emits this like green goo. So he gets the green goo all over his hands, and then he starts turning into a plant.
Okay, I remember that.
Still there?
I remember that.
So,
I'm like,
and he's so bad in it. It's just like, it's more of a funny thing. It's like, why did you put yourself in this movie just because you wrote it?
Sure.
There's another one where like this guy and his wife, he has like a zombie in a box, and like the zombie it's chained up under like a flight of stairs or something, and it comes out and like ends up killing a bunch of people. Yeah, it's just really it's so bad.
It's like a drive-in type movie, isn't it?
Totally, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It had like some animation in there, so it's like, hey, like a kid's reading a comic book, and this is what's going on. And then and then his parents get mad at him, and they throw the comic book in the trash. And then like the comic book opens up to the page, and the movie starts. So it's so terrible.
Yeah,
but
I vaguely remember it. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Creep Show.
All
right, you want to do a couple more?
Yeah, I've only got a couple more here.
Right.
One of the ones I liked the most as a kid was Gremlins.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things to where as a kid you're always like, why can't something like that happen to me? Where some little furry thing comes in here, but then it's got all these little rules, and there's like a mysterious man from the Orient, and you've got it's a hell ensues with lots of puppets and Gizmo's cute, and it was a big part of '80s. But Gremlins was a classic, man. Everybody loved that. Gremlins 2, the new batch, was even kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked Gremlins. Was kind of like a fun kids horror movie kind of movie.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know, a whole lot happened to the people within that movie.
Yeah.
Typical 80s actors, but
That's
anyways.
true. Yeah.
Gremlins, it's a deep cut.
Good pick.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite movies, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's so good. Because it really like the first couple movies those guys did together, like they're all, and Edgar Wright, he still kind of does it. There's like great tributes to older movies and then other movies, in the genre. So this one's funny, very silly, but it's very well done. And that's kind of why I think it's so good.
And you can kind of see the theme is like, I know a lot of these movies we're talking about aren't really classic like Halloween scary movies because there is that campiness element to them. I think that's where this genre does best because like there's just not many that are kind of like the Conjuring series, which we've talked about before. We obviously just talked about The Haunting of Hill House. There are some good Stephen King ones that are serious. Yeah, Hereditary. We've talked a lot about these recently, and they definitely all make this list. These are good notable mentions that we've been talking about that we really wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on, but it's good to give respects, that for something that's kind of scary or whatever during that period of time is it did have that kind of impact. And I wish there was more movies like Gremlins or Drag Me to Hell that kind of came out, or The Thing. There's such a huge need for those, but I kind of feel that CGI has taken out a lot of creativity with some of scary movies and stuff like that, because then it doesn't become as convincing in a way. Like you have to get more creative when they're using puppets, or it's not gonna work well. Or you lean on suspense, and suspense movies, in my opinion, are the best ones. Very few of these I've talked about are suspense ones, but I try to kind of stick a little bit more towards the, generic kind of stuff. I don't want to talk about like Friday the 13th or Halloween or Chucky or whatever the hell that doll one's called, Child's Play. There's all those kind of classics. I think all those are terrible, but if you like it from a creativity point of view, and you kind of that's like your thing. Like I get it. While they're cool, I like the premise and the thought of a lot of them. They're just not my kind of movie. Yeah. And I do think that they're not like, other than being like cult classics and stuff like that. They worked during that time. So a movie like the original Halloween, it's worth watching. I know you haven't seen it. It's worth watching just to kind of see like why was this successful in the day. But if you took that exact movie and remade it the exact same way, frame for frame, and released it today, it just wouldn't be the same. People's palate has changed quite a bit. Most of the more modern ones are like Saw, movies like that. Or what's the other one that Quentin Tarantino's buddy Eli Roth does? Or is his name Eli Roth, or what's his name? Oh
yeah, he did Cabin Fever.
The Cabin Fever was one,
Hostel.
But he did Hostel. There you go. Like those are the kind that I'm just not gonna get behind. Yeah, and that's got like gore, cringe-worthy type stuff. That's just like, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some fun ones that go back and watch. I kind of look at Halloween movies kind of like as like Christmas movies that capture and invoke the feeling of like scariness, but are not, truly like scary movies. I mean, some of them we called are. I don't know. Yeah. Anything you're forgetting? Any other notable things on your list?
I'll just kind of run down what I have left here. It's obviously like the older. The new one's good, but that old one with the TV like series, it's really kind of holds a special place.
That is terrible, though.
It's bad, but I think it's again, it holds a place in that time.
Okay.
The Amityville Horror, which I was like fascinated with that, for a minute. That was a good one. Original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah, I like Freddy as a character. He's a really smart character.
Yeah. One that's just another laughable, which tries to be, serious, is the devil's advocate.
Oh, get out of here.
It's so ridiculous.
Ooh-ah.
Hey,
Great ass.
Satan. Ah. Yeah, I'm too tired to do that one right now. But yeah, that's just kind of what I have on my list. Just things that I thought about. And then a lot of the ones that you mentioned as well are there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you like scary movies, hopefully you've seen some of these. If not, maybe you've added a couple to your list or need to go back and watch them. I'm really curious to see like what we forgot. There's so many gems in the 80s that I'm forgetting.
Well, let's put up we'll put up a post on our site, and if our fans want to chime in with some honorable mentions, I mean, it's going to be hard to cover everything. These are just kind of stuff that strike us, but I know our listeners have very varied tastes in what they like, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I feel good about this. I'm gonna go watch some scary movies now.
Yep. Happy Halloween, everyone. Be safe out there.
Yep. Watch your kids.
We'll be back next week with our regular programming. Right?
Yeah.
do a special edition.
Yeah, and if you're new, thanks for stopping by. Go check out some of our other past episodes. They're not all like this. We like to do our little tributes and our fun ones. So this is a nice little break for us here. So thanks for indulging.
Yes.
All right, take us home, brother.
All right. Well, you can listen to the Harsh Review podcast. You can find us wherever you can listen to podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, of course. Please check out our Patreon and donate to us. Check us out on Instagram. Give us your money. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, of course. Leave comments. We really appreciate when you let us know like possible topics for future episodes.
Absolutely.
And that's what I got. This has been an episode of Harsh Review, Halloween edition. I am your host, Ryan.
I'm Sean.
Happy Halloween, everyone.